Very happy to be back with this beautiful community here in Vrindavan Dham, and specifically Shri Radhe Kunj Ashram Temple, invited by His Grace Mahabodhi Prabhuji and his good wife Mahasingha and Mahasingha Prabhu, and all the community here. Thank you all for coming. Please accept my pranams. So Mahabodhi Prabhu requested me to discuss a little bit about how to develop in Bhakti, the practice and so forth. So I was thinking about discussing a little bit the conclusion of Lord Chaitanya discussed with Sri Ramananda Roy, famous as the discourse of Sri Ramananda Roy Sambad. Just a brief overview, and then we can continue further in this topic. We'll be having a program tomorrow evening as well for everyone. If you study this along with the sociology of history and religion in general, you can kind of understand it in context of world religion. Lord Chaitanya is the incarnation of Prem, divine love, and he described Prem or divine love as the ultimate goal of human life, beyond the four general goals of human life, which is Dharma, that which upholds spiritual principles that uphold society and help you gradually elevate yourself, generally perform for material gain in this world because that's where we're at. Artha, economic development. Kama, sense gratification. And moksha, freedom from suffering, ultimate liberation. Lord Chaitanya is the incarnation of Prem, divine love, who came to bestow that. And he gave that as the final conclusion of the aim of the soul that has taken on human form. We should understand this as not a philosophy external to us, but a philosophy very internal to us, right? In Lord Chaitanya's discussion with Ramananda Roy, he keeps saying, this is external, go deeper. So we should take this personally. This discussion, this philosophy is not an external discussion, an external philosophy. This is something very internal, very personal. Again and again, Lord Chaitanya is saying that's external. What's for us? So we should understand Lord Chaitanya, he's coming to give something to us, internal for us, personal for us. How does this apply for us? This conversation, this discussion is for our own benefit. That means it's our own yearning. As the soul has come into human form, there is a yearning that's part and parcel of this form of life, right? These goals of human life, you should think of it like this, right? Our soul has journeyed through millions of species of life to get to this point. That's how it's described in our Vedic culture, right? All the life that we see around us in the world, this is all forms that the soul embodies. And we have inevitably passed through these different forms. And so if you're slapping the mosquito on your arm, you should consider this is a form of life that I may have been at one point, at one stage of my evolution. So I'm fortunate to be a human being now, but as a human being, I have a yearning, a goal, an aspiration. A body is a vehicle of your reactions, your karma, but also even more intrinsically a vehicle of your desires, right? This is a vehicle of our desires by which we can play out our desires in life. And so Lord Chaitanya is discussing with one of his principal associates, what is the primary ultimate desire of someone who's taken on this human form of life? What is the ultimate goal? And throughout this discussion, he's categorizing the goals as either external or internal. And he begins with the question. So what is the question? What is the ultimate goal of life and how to achieve it? He said, without that knowledge, or even without that intent or curiosity even, then we're not truly even human. As the Vedas would describe it, we're two-legged animals, right? Like a kangaroo. Two-legged animals. Lord Chaitanya said, what is the goal of life for someone who's taken on this human form? How do we achieve it? And then Sri Ramananda Roy describes, most of us have heard this, but I'm just going to touch on some points. He says that we should be religious. We should perform some kinds of religious duties according to our position in life and society. We should accept there's a God, right? And we should do our duties. And Lord Chaitanya describes it to be external, not because it's wrong, but because it's almost unconscious. It's not fully developed consciousness. Everyone else is doing it, so I'll do it. I'm a Christian, there's 3 billion Christians. I'm a Muslim, there's 2 billion Muslims. I'm a Hindu, there's 1 billion Hindus. I'll also be a Hindu, I'll also be a Christian, I'll also be a Muslim. Kind of just going along with patterns without actually trying to develop that or advance in that. If we look at Lord Chaitanya's teachings in this conversation, it's all about advancement. Bhakti is not static. Bhakti advances or progresses, it develops. And our soul is going through this journey of development, the ultimate self-development journey to the highest goal, the highest attainment. And so Lord Chaitanya is saying, just to think, I will do some religious activity according to the faith of my land or my people or my tribe as a kind of unconscious pattern is external. And okay, I'm born in this place, my father did this, I will do this. This is just an aspect of, it's a platform. It's like a plate, no food. Right? You go to the store to buy a plate, but if you don't put food on it, what's the point of the plate? You clear land to build a house, if you don't build the house, what's the point of the land? So many religions are focused on external religious functions as almost an unconscious pattern without digging deep or building up anything. No foundation, no edifice, no advancement. So this is the main topic. Lord Chaitanya is saying, how do we advance? How does our conception advance? And how do we advance along with our conception? It's also not just that our conception should advance and we should not advance along with it. That's building a palace in the sky and then living in the mud. Right? Gopi Bhav, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, any of these perfected attainments of perfected love of God. It's very pie in the sky. In the meantime, our Gurudev would say so much Sahajism is going on, so much cheap imitation. As our conception advances, we should try to, as the Republicans say, right, lift yourself up by your bootstraps. Try to advance along with your conceptions. Right? We should try to advance along with the elevated conceptions that we inherit. So, we begin with this understanding. This is a very high platform. We should not also discount this. Lord Chaitanya is saying, what is the goal of human life? And Ramananda Roy says, to perform Varnashrama Dharma, which means to perform spiritually good activities, religious activities, according to your qualification, your position in society, and gradually, try to cultivate higher values in a general way. And he said you should go further. You should go further. This does not mean this is wrong. It means you should go further. Right? You need a starting point, otherwise what's the point of a journey? It doesn't exist. There has to be a starting point. And you know what they say classically, right? When you finish your whole journey, you come back to the beginning and understand it properly. So then you can understand what it is I'm doing, and then you can have the proper maturity to actually embody those values and live your life properly. Because let's face it, Varnashrama Dharma, Swami Prabhupada would say, everyone follows some aspect of it. It's almost intrinsic to a life form. It's like part of its dharma, its nature. So I'm going to live it whether I'm conscious of it or not conscious of it. But the question is, I want to evolve. I want to advance. Human life is about advancement. And that's actually the principle of Varnashrama, right? The whole idea of Varnashrama is that you can gradually advance. right? That's the whole concept if you study the Vedic system of Varnashram. The whole concept is gradual advancement. But Lord Chaitanya came and he said, your advancement, Lord Chaitanya himself is the avatar who is bringing us the advanced practice. So we can, it's kind of like, for example, the Old Testament and the New Testament. Christ came and he said, no, follow this process, you can quickly advance. You don't have to follow the 10,000 rules and regulations. You can just follow these basic commandments and make advancement. So Lord Chaitanya is the ultimate incarnation. In Islam, they say Muhammad is the final incarnation, right? Lord Chaitanya came 300 years after. Lord Chaitanya is the final incarnation. It's a separate topic, but basically, Lord Chaitanya, he is that incarnation who's teaching us how to advance in our life. And we should also understand Varnashrama Dharma is what is performed with this material body. But what is the Varnashrama Dharma of the Atma, the soul? Yes? What is the Dharma of our soul? And in the discussion, as he said, go deeper. This is, again, something for us. We have to, first of all, we should understand we're all performing some Dharma. Whether it's consciously or unconsciously. We're all performing some function according to our nature, according to our body, according to our karma. Inevitably. That's why it's considered external. It's a given. Now, why it's important is that we should be performing proper Dharma, not adharma. Just like in the Gita, Krishna says you should do karma, not akarma or vikarma. Maybe I speak without the mic now, yeah? There you go. Does this one work also?
That one's really fuzzy.
So,
we can hear good, but this is
it's coming in and out.
Maybe if you move that farther.
The battery might be coming in and out.
Audio's probably dying.
Okay. So, Dharma is something that's natural. It's going to automatically happen. But Varnashrama Dharma is very important because we can constantly make an effort that our activities elevate us, not degrade us. Adharmic activities degrade us to lower forms of life. Dharmic activities help us advance to higher forms of life. So we should try it. But Lord Chaitanya said you should understand, I have come to teach you about the Dharma of the soul, Atma, not just the material body, and how as an Atma you can progress. And so then he talks about what is real bhakti. But then again he gives many stages. And most practitioners of most religions don't make conscious effort necessarily to strive towards these higher stages of advancement. This is Lord Chaitanya's speciality, how to advance, right? Whereas most people say just follow these basic things and you're okay. Just chant your rounds, go back to Godhead, yes? Yes. But what does it mean to chant the name purely? If you look at the limbs of devotion as given by Rupa Goswami, it says chant without offenses. Make the effort to chant without offenses. Right? Okay, so now we have to make an effort to advance. Simple. So Lord Chaitanya is speaking about this. So he said, please go further. Advance. What is more internal? This is all external. Automatically going on. And so Ramananda Roy says, you should offer the results of your activities to God. There's many stages. We'll just touch on a few points. But in general in society, we can also establish the point of why is Varnashram so important? Because without it, this is something interesting in the Gita. Krishna says there's always forces in opposition of each other. There's always opposing forces in the material world. It's of the nature of duality, good and evil. So if you don't, I heard a saying yesterday in Japanese, if you don't protect the forces, in Sanskrit we say, Dharma protects those who protect Dharma. Then everything collapses into complete chaos and anarchy. So we have to fight for that. And once you reach that platform and defend that platform, establish that walled garden, then you have to cultivate the garden. Right? We have to erect the wall and protect it. That's our culture, our traditions, Varnashrama Dharma. We must. If you're noble enough for that pursuit, then once you have the walls up and you're able to protect them and man the walls from anarchy and chaos and completely degraded life, which is what's going on in the West, then you have to cultivate your garden. That's the inner spirit. So Mahaprabhu said, therefore go further. Mahaprabhu is saying the incarnation of divine love, prem, has not come just to establish the walls and protect them. Many incarnations come and do that. Lord Nrsingadev, Matsya, Varaha, Kurma. Protect. Bring the Veda back. Bring the earth back to its proper position. Establish dharmic principles. Save the devotees. Defeat the demons. Lord Chaitanya said, I have not come to do that. Jagai Madai, those who were most worthy recipients of the death penalty of the Lord, did not receive it. In Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, the most worthy recipients of the death penalty, Jagai Madai, who attacked his own brother, Balaram, incarnation of the most mercy. He forgave them, he blessed them, and he helped them advance. So Lord Chaitanya is giving us the methodology for this age that is very degraded. But he said, you protect that. All the avatars have done that. Lord Chaitanya has not come to kill the demons. He said, I have come to equally embrace all and help them advance. That doesn't mean we take sides or, support the demonic classes. We defend, we protect. But Lord Chaitanya is teaching you, find time to cultivate your inner garden as well. And take support of all the incarnations to protect that tradition and culture. I'll take an example of our Gurudev, Srila Narayana Goswami Maharaj. He was a very fierce defender of dharmic principles, especially if you look at his writings from the 50s. If you read, and I translate many of his articles from Hindi to English from the 50s and 60s, he was a lion defending Dharma. In the West, people are softer, so he became a little softer. He would say to some Western disciples, don't look at my picture when I was a young sannyasi in India, because that picture has a personality and a reciprocation. You cannot tolerate it. It's like Nrsingadev. He would tell us. He has a picture of himself, and he was, very fierce defender of Dharma. He said, you should find time in life also to cultivate your inner garden. That's your sadhana, that you as a soul can advance. Otherwise, you can clean your plate of Varnashram perpetually and it'll still get dirty. Like you eat food and it's dirty. You can keep doing that and doing that and doing that and protecting and protecting and protecting your walls and your culture. But if you don't cultivate your inner spirit and advance, what's the purpose? So the Ramananda Roy said, okay, you should dedicate your actions to God. So Prabhuji asked a question about Aropsita Bhakti. Anyone heard this term? Yes, Prabhuji? Yes. Aropsita Bhakti means you offer your actions to God, but the actions themselves are not directly bhakti. And you're kind of superimposing bhakti upon them. And it's good intention, more conscious, but not complete. And he quotes Gita verses. Lord Chaitanya said everything should be based on scriptural references, so it's authorized. So all these discussions, he gives many references to each part of this discussion. So he says that's also not complete. Because it's still based on the doer mentality, which is also ultimately a misconception covered in the second chapter of the Gita. Second chapter of the Gita covers this misconception. He said, and the third chapter of the Gita, Krishna says, everything has been done by the modes of nature. You are not the doer. Right? Second chapter of the Gita says, someone who thinks he is slain or slaying is all the actions of illusion of Maya. It doesn't take away culpability, right? We're still responsible, we'll still have to incur the reactions. But it's ultimately just, we see the famous painting in Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita of the modes of nature with strings pulling the living entity, right? The person. The puppet strings, right? Goodness, passion, ignorance, all these forces are at play within us. And we are being pulled in different directions. So if you're thinking, I will just perform good actions and offer the results to God, he said that's also external. You're still not touching your soul, your Atma. You're kind of dancing around the soul. Aropsita Bhakti means you're dancing around, but you're not watering this. Lord Chaitanya said, water the spirit, water the garden, the seed. Not even the garden, he said, water the seed. Right? It's only when, now there's a few more layers of the discussion, but it's only when Ramananda Roy says you should water the seed of the soul through pure hearing and kirtan, chanting and meditation, then he says, this is good, go further. Otherwise, Varnashrama is protecting, right? Erecting the walls, protecting the walls. And then different stages, still in human material body consciousness and in the doer mentality, which is all temporary, all just the material dream of life, samsara, birth and death. In other words, unless you connect on the platform of the Atma, how are you going to escape the cycle of samsara? So, Karma Mishra Bhakti is also external. Krishna talks about this in the Gita, Niskama Karma Yoga. What I recommend to people is that we have to perform our duties in life, we have to do our work in life, we have to maintain our families, we have to help serve and maintain our cultures, our traditions, but we should also spend some time cultivating that inner spirit. Directly, intentionally, consciously. It's not enough to be a card-carrying member of a religion. That's what Lord Chaitanya says in the beginning is external. It doesn't mean, oh, I'm a Hare Krishna, now I am part of the best religion, and I'm a card-carrying member of the Hare Krishna faith, so I'm okay. I also should make efforts to advance. Right? And just being a good person is not enough. It's a tough thing. Because most people who follow most religions think being a good person and believing in God is enough. And it's great, because it's much better than what's going on. Being a good person and believing in God is a great platform. Varnashrama and Dharma. Right? Being a good person, doing your duty, not acting adharmically, performing bad activities, and believing in God is a great platform. But if you strive to advance, the modes of nature will drag you down inevitably. What's the ultimate conclusion? Death by any means necessary. One way or the other. We're going to die. All your goodness, all your piety will only lead to material enjoyment, called bhakti, will not lead directly to God. Right? I'm a good person. And you're going to reap results of that goodness until they exhaust themselves, and then you're going to go through the washing machine of material life until one day you're a bad person. And it's all relative. It's all, relative degrees of samsara. So Lord Chaitanya said advance. So then he said, okay, even beyond karma-related activities that are applied to bhakti, that means offered to God. Krishna says in the Gita, do your activities offer the results to God. Very high platform. But he said, continue. Then he speaks about higher knowledge, higher levels of consciousness, giving up the results completely and giving up the doer mentality completely and meditating on God and the Atma and all these things. Mahaprabhu said, yes, but still external. And then it's when he comes to the platform, he says, this is real bhakti. And he quotes these verse of Lord Brahma, the great authority, the first progenitor, the secondary creator of the whole universe, who says, ultimately you also have to give up just knowledge-related devotional activities. Right? Lofty conceptions, palace in the sky, playing in the mud. Right? Krishna, 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 and Maya, 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 Maya. Krishna talk, Maya walk. Right? Krishna talk and Maya walk. So, sometimes Brijabasis, we're hearing about the Brijabasis. Sometimes Brijabasis will look like they're doing Maya, but their heart is with Krishna. What is higher? Doing so-called materialistic activities, just going about their day, going about their life, doing their work, always absorbed in Krishna. So this is higher. There's a funny story of a sadhu, so-called sadhu, who was preaching to everyone about Ekadashi. You should follow Ekadashi. He had his wife, he told her, never come to my classes. He would go and he was a professional reciter. It's a funny professional reciter. Thousands of people would come to his lectures. But he told his wife, stay home, iron the clothes, cook, clean. Don't come to my classes. She thought, he's very famous. She snuck into one class at the back. She heard him preaching about Ekadashi. You should follow Ekadashi, don't eat grains on this day, and so on. It happened that the next day was Ekadashi. He came home that night, the next morning he woke up and he said, where's my puri and halava? She said, today we're following Ekadashi. He said, where did you hear about that word? He said, oh, I'm so sorry, dear Prabhu, I came to your class. He said, I told you not to come to my class. That's for the regular people. This is my job. I go and speak, they give me money. This is not for us. And we're pure people. Ekadashi following is for sinful people. They are sinful, they should follow. Rules for thee, not for me. She said, no, I heard you, what you said in class to everyone, I'll follow that. He said, I'll beat you. Make me my puris, rice and halava for breakfast on Ekadashi. Vishnu doesn't follow Ekadashi, why should I? I'm his devotee. Anyhow, this is called being a knowledgeable person without following the principles. Otherwise known as a hypocrite. Real Gyan Mishra Bhakti is a very high stage. Real Gyan Bhakti is very, very high stage. What I'm talking about is not even any semblance of Bhakti. But the point is, Lord Chaitanya said, you should continue to make the effort to advance. And he said that the best advancement is then made in association that inspires you to advance. By the power of their association. I've seen that in my life. I know, I'm not so advanced. But whatever ability to continue the effort to practice bhakti is by the quality of my association. Guaranteed. Otherwise, I'm just a worker. If you see me yesterday in the ashram, digging dirt and making trenches and, serving in the temple, but we also try to repeat the words of our gurus. But the point is that external activities, external duties is one thing. But he said, if you really want to advance in bhakti, it's according to the quality of your association. You should try to have good association. And so Rupa Goswami says 5 limbs, or most prominent in bhakti. That means hearing about Krishna, hearing through scripture, through sadhus, and try to be in even slightly more advanced association, people that bring you up. And we saw that with Swami, of course, our Acharyas, Swami Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev. That's a continuing process. Anyone who helps inspire us about bhakti to really further in this practice. You're every day, every few days, reading, hearing together, inspiring each other. You try to segment a time of your day to water that seed. Lord Chaitanya said, this is watering the seed. Directly hearing about Krishna, doing kirtan, focusing on cultivating that inner spirit. Hearing about Krishna directly touches the Atma, the soul. All right? Not as a speculative knowledge acquiring process. Properly receptive hearing through sastra, with sadhus, it has a quality that directly is touching the Atma. And Swami Prabhupada, when he talks about Krishna consciousness, we should understand that the best way to be Krishna conscious is to hear about Krishna. You're bypassing your thought process and your mundane intelligence process, and you're trying to make a pathway directly to your Atma, your soul. That's why some acharyas would say, don't think, drink. Hear. Hear, then repeat and meditate, and then you can come to realization. But really to be Krishna, so this is when Lord Chaitanya in his conversation, he finally becomes happy. And a lot of people, I'll tell you, in India even, a lot of people kind of criticize Lord Chaitanya for being too sentimental, not enough of an activist. He was a great activist, the greatest activist, but they say, oh, he made people, he wasn't, like they say also with Christ, wasn't about political revolution, for example. He didn't teach political revolution, he didn't teach warfare, he didn't teach killing the demons. So he said, oh, he's weak. But he's talking about the war of the soul, or spiritual warfare. The ultimate jihad, right? To be able to help, and ultimately what we say, Jayadwani, we pray to God, Jayadwani and our gurus, that you can achieve victory over my demons. I cannot do it also. The ultimate spiritual battle where we also surrender and pray for help from those great generals of devotion, as Lord Chaitanya taught, the Goswamis. Raghunath Das Goswami said, we pray to the generals of devotion. Please help me in that battlefield of life where I'm constantly beset with lust, anger, greed, madness, avarice. All these emotions and energies and personalities are bombarding me. Please help me. So Lord Chaitanya said, very good. As soon as Ramananda Roy spoke about pure Harikatha, hearing about Krishna, he said directly, this is Krishna consciousness. Why? Even your own japa, sometimes the mind is here, mind is there, mind is there. The name is pure. Krishna Nam is always pure. But do we see the spotless sun, or are we covered by the clouds? Hearing Harikatha helps dispel the clouds, so that the pure name manifests. Because also, we should understand that chanting the name is the ultimate process. So there's 64 limbs of devotion given, then there's 9 limbs of devotion given. We don't have time to list them all, maybe tomorrow we'll talk more. Of those 5, most important is the name. Hearing the name and speaking the name is the ultimate watering of the soul, so that that real purpose can manifest. The real Atma can awaken through hearing and kirtan and smaran. Those 3 processes are called Swarup Siddha Bhakti, the best method to advance. Every day we try to carve out some time for hearing, chanting, and remembering. Those 3 things should be our daily spiritual practice. That's what Swami Prabhupada taught.
Daily meal.
Our daily food, daily diet. Everything else is vitamins, medicines, this and that. You can take all the vitamin C in the world, pills, but if you don't eat, you're still going to be weak. Right? So we should think, hearing, chanting, remembering, this is our food for our spiritual life, for the Atma. And that should be done from the conception of the Atma, the soul. Even if you're not on that level, it's very beneficial. But ultimately, we should try to realize, I am Atma. I am spirit, soul. All this that is separate from Krishna and Atma is Maya. This is 4 slokas of Bhagavatam. 4 main slokas. Rite artam yat pratiyata na pratityaratmani tadvidyaratmano Maya. Anything that is distracting you from the soul and from Krishna, from God, is Maya. And when you realize Krishna, when you realize your soul, you see everything is related to Krishna, and then nothing is outside of Krishna, then there's no Maya for you. Pure devotee, they can be surrounded by Maya. Maya does not touch them. I'll give you an example. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, you know what they said? Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada, his guru told him, don't go to Calcutta, it's the place of Maya. First place he went and established a temple is Calcutta. People asked, you're not following your guru? He said, I never left the Dham. Anywhere I go, I'm with devotees, doing hearing, chanting, remembering. He said, don't make any disciples. He made thousands of disciples. He said, I didn't make any disciples. This is a good topic. Disciple, guru topic. Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada, we're in that line. Swami Prabhupada's guru. He said, I never made any disciples. Because he didn't have that doer mentality. I am the master. I am God's incarnation on earth. I am the guru. I am making disciples. He always called them Prabhu. This is a very interesting thing in our culture, right? I call you Prabhu. I call myself Das. You call me Prabhu. You call yourself Das. Everyone's calling each other master and calling themselves servant. Who's the master? Who's the servant? Everyone's master, everyone's servant. Who's the guru? Who's the disciple? Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada said, you're all my friends protecting me from Maya. He called them Vipad Udharan Bandhav. No doer mentality. Why? That's the second thing Mahaprabhu said is external. Karma Mishra Bhakti. External. I am the doer. I am doing these activities. I am offering them to Krishna. He said, what is the soul doing? This is all material body. So anyhow, hearing Harikatha, then from that point, through hearing, gradually you can get inspired to advance into higher and higher stages of devotion. There's Vaikuntha Bhakti, in the mood of awe and reverence. We'll discuss this more tomorrow. But this is just an introduction. We should not think, Gurudev would say one thing, Srila Gurudev, Srila Narayan Maharshi would say, we should not, in Ramananda Roy Samvad, it is a hierarchy of, levels. But he would say, for each devotee, every level is perfect. If you have a relationship with Lord Narayan in a mood of awe and reverence, that is perfect for you. With Lord Ram, with Krishna in any rasa, it's perfect. They're all perfect. But he said we should also understand according to the objective standards, various levels of perfection. More and more and more and more perfect. So we'll discuss this a little bit more tomorrow. But Prabhuji is asking about how to advance in bhakti. What's very beautiful about what Swami Prabhupada established and Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, our gurus, established is that by default, anyone who's in their line is practicing some amount of Swarup Siddha Bhakti. That means intrinsically pure bhakti. By chanting japa, by hearing Bhagavatam class. This is following the limbs of bhakti given by Rupa Goswami. It's all pure bhakti that we're following. Whether we are purely following or not is up to us. But the method is pure. Right? We should not question the method. Prabhupada's program is perfect. Our Acharya's program is perfect. All we're saying is we should not unconsciously follow it. It means we should follow it trying to cultivate and develop the Atma, the soul, our spirit, in its natural relationship with God according to its rasa, relationship. Because bhakti is also bhav, not just kriya. It's mood, not just action. And if you're only doing the actions, you're following your religion and you're a carrying member of your religion, it's very easy to get into sectarianism then. My group is better than your group. My branch of Krishna devotee is better than your branch, better than, my guru in ISKCON is better than your guru in ISKCON. Or Gaudiya Math is bad and ISKCON is good and ISKCON is bad and Gaudiya Math is good. All these variations of sectarianism is also an enemy of truth. Not that one isn't objectively better or worse or good or bad, but what's it have to do with me as an Atma and how I can progress? That's all just external, temporary form. Temporary form, temporary form. What's the real truth? And how do I advance in that? So we hear, we chant, and we try to make advancement. Follow sadhana bhakti, we carve out some time. One thing Swami Prabhupada established so nicely, which will maintain his society for millennia to come, is his emphasis on Vaidhi Bhakti. We'll end with this point, right? Follow the rules and regulation of bhakti. Otherwise, everything just becomes imitation. And he said, establish Varnashrama Dharma. Didn't he say that's 50% of his work, right? What are you going to eat, off the ground? So again, we don't want to make the plate, we don't want to clean the plate, we don't want to protect the plate. And then what happens in our society? I'll tell you, I've kind of experienced this in our ashram in New York. It's a very good microcosm of Dharma and life. Because it's like, oh, you're going to talk about this and you can't take out the trash. Take out the trash. Is it bhakti or not? Well, does Radharani want a bunch of trash all over his temple? If you fill your temple with trash and don't clean it, then what's happening? Welcome, Tamagun, please come. Dharma protects its protectors. Tamagun protects its protectors. Kali Maharaj protects his protectors. You all got to serve somebody. You want to serve Tamagun? Then Tamagun comes into your life more and more and more, mode of ignorance. You're going to be a soldier for something. So we fight for, we try to serve Nirgun Bhakti. So what I'm saying here is, in my practical experience, you have to work hard just to protect what you have. In your spiritual life, in your material life, whatever you have. So real nobility of man or purpose of human beings is that you can protect it and make even a millimeter or an inch of progress as well. Because in the name of progress, progressives, right? In the name of progress, you're losing everything. So Prabhupada said 50% of the work is Varnashrama Dharma. I haven't done it. I've given you the lofty conception. How are you going to live it in your own life? Our Gurudev, Srila Narayana Goswami Maharaj, he was the biggest opponent of Sahajiyas, cheap imitation. He would go again and again to Radhakund and said, all you fake Babajis, meditating on, oh, Radharani, Radhe Radhe, and illicitly performing so many activities. This is gross, cheap imitation. You'll go to hell for this. He would speak very strongly. So we have to be able to live our life on that platform first, to be qualified to call it external. right? Otherwise, where are we at? Just pigs in the in the mud. So I'm praying that I can try to serve my guru and our gurus. Lord Chaitanya is giving very, very high teaching, right? The teaching has to be given, right? Otherwise, again, we're just fighting to maintain what we have. Varnashrama Dharma, just fighting to maintain it. And it needs to be that fight. In this age of Kali is a fight till the last day when we fail, right? It's a fight till Kalki comes, right? The fight goes on till the day Kalki advents. And then he ultimately does the final victory. Because the forces are against us ultimately. The tides are against us in this age. In our microcosm, we can fight and protect it. But we should protect it and water the seed in the garden. So that some fortunate fruits can blossom. Some flowers can blossom, some fruits can ripen, some souls can be liberated. This is our conception, right? It's the duty of the patriarchs, the matriarchs, the men and women in the culture to protect it. So that if we can't follow it, the children can follow it, but we should always emphasize, try to water that seed. And that one fortunate soul can really blossom to its pure existence. Then the human condition has achieved success, the purpose of society. You know what? I've always heard from our gurus that if one devotee becomes pure devotee in one generation, in one nation, that nation is successful. That earth is successful. That's how our acharyas would speak, right? So we should try to advance ourselves or others. If we see someone else advancing, we should clap for their good fortune. We should think, how can I help you? Everything else, all the water, all the earth, all the oil, all the air, everything will come and will go, will come and will go, will come and will go. Just like we have come and gone a million times, right? But if we can really follow Mahaprabhu's Dharma, Prem Dharma doesn't start without Atma Dharma, right? Soul. So we pray for that spiritual advancement so that we can actually go towards understanding of what is Prem. So thank you so much for your time. Please forgive me. I'm praying to be on this path. I would like to end with this idea. The last 2 years in our ashram in New York, I'm myself very strenuously trying to just practice what I would call Varnashrama Dharma. It means just survive practicing your faith. And keep chaos at bay. Take out your trash. Take out your trash, keep the house clean, keep the roof from leaking. Learn how to put food on the table, offer it to God and share it. Very important thing to do. And, we're the boys here, we see every day, right? We go out, we get to work, but we carve out some time to chant, to hear, to remember. Yes, Prabhu.
So there's a progression though, right? So how you're progressively getting better. So eventually you have to get to Vanapas platform
Yeah.
and then after that.
Yeah.
So if you just stuck at that one level and just trying to get just to that level, how do you get to those next level stages where you're actually knowing where you're going to advance?
Follow the model. The method has been given. You chant, you hear, and you strive. I would say your desire itself and watering that desire to advance is the most crucial element, not the study, because the study will follow subsequently. You have to have a passion for it before you even... So you want it? Okay, we have the books, we have the method. Method is there. Method is the easy part. You can say, hey Siri, how to practice Bhakti. Hello? All right, and it'll tell you. Method is the easy part. So you have the desire, find the method, practice the method, adjust the method, tinker with it so it works for you as an individual. It's another important thing. So Prabhupada gave a model for a whole society that will last from generation to generation to generation to generation. You have to make room for the individuality within that. That means that's why there's shiksha, ongoing guidance, diksha. That's part of the scripture. Otherwise, the scripture's there. No one needs guru. No one needs mentorship. Mentorship is only there to help you as an individual address it. But the main thing is water that desire. And if you want to understand how to water that desire, first you have to think about how you will have that desire. Where does that desire come from? That's why we follow Ekadashi. That's why we take Sadhu Sangha. Most of our bhakti activities are actually what leads to the desire for bhakti. This is a part of the secret of it. I remember asking my Shiksha Guru in India, how do I know if I'm doing bhakti properly? He said, bhakti? You should try to do sukriti, things that help you develop the desire for bhakti and the tendency for bhakti, which is to love and serve Krishna. And if you're following Kadashi and the desire to love and serve Krishna and come closer to Krishna awakens, then you should think that activity is good. Kadashi is. Otherwise, people say, oh, I don't need to follow Kadashi. There's a whole line in Vrindavan that won't follow Kadashi. They say, oh, that's just external, related to the body. Oh, we don't need Varnashrama and Dharma. Okay, great. Go in, you don't need, take IV of drugs, take fentanyl, be a drug addict, and talk about Krishna. See how it works in your life. You need Varnashrama and Dharma, you need the platform, you need everything. Most important thing you need is the desire. You should think, where does that desire come from? That's what Jagmohan Maharaj ended with. Because we shouldn't think, what they say? Most people just think their thoughts and think they are their thoughts. You don't understand where the thoughts come from and dig deeper and think that certain environments and certain activities manifest certain thoughts. You're in front of you're a young man in front of an attractive naked woman. You have certain thoughts. Different situation, different thoughts. Why? Because of your environment and your association. So desire comes from something. And you should act in such a way that your spiritual desires for bhakti are fostered. And if you have those, then how can I advance from that? Methodology is the easy part. And we can have a discussion about it. But we should understand the method is there. How to have the will to follow it. And how to nourish that seed. How to have the will to water that seed instead of watering the seed of Maya. This is the challenge. The daily battle that I face.
What about Sadhu Sangha? In other words, not everyone, of course we're in an age where there's so much, electronic means and association stuff, but how do you cultivate, especially for those living out in the wilderness, Sadhu Sangha? Because if you're going to be anugatya and to be progressing, not only you have to hear and chant, and practice, but you also need the guidance and that Sadhu Sangha. I remember, Prabhupada was saying, most of the advancement is by, like you said earlier, is by the association of Mahabhagavats and great devotees. So, how does one enact that? Or, I can answer my own question, but I'm not.
So the beauty of association is that once you have a relationship, association is not only by proximity. So you are associating with Swami Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev by your relationship with them and by remembrance and then hearing their class, hearing from them. You always need good association. But, I've seen people ask this question. A lot of times we stress association, and then senior devotees aren't associating as much. Why not? They have a proximity internally by following but you always need to, again, kind of revive that. But this is one of the things, is that, association isn't, we've heard this many times, association is actually another word for attachment. Real association is with attachment. Otherwise, when you go to Walmart, you're not associating with the cashier. If you develop attachment and, hey, let's go out for pizza afterwards, you bag the groceries so nicely, let's go have a drink. Then that becomes association with the cashier. Otherwise, it's just a brief interaction. So the point is, with sadhus in your life, you try to develop so much association, like a protein, like you had with Swami Prabhupada, which is great. So much association that you build a very deep relationship, just like with your wife or son. You could be separate from them for years and still be associating with them, because there's a heart-to-heart connection. That's why we say, Koromore, make me one with your heart. Guru Mukha Padma Chitte Tekari, connect with me on the platform of my Atma. But I'll also say, in my life, I've seen that the direct physical association, it charges that Tesla battery like nothing else will. It charges the battery of your spiritual life like none of the distance association can. I've seen so I lived, as a practical example, 15 years in Vrindavan in association with high-class sadhus, practicing bhakti day and night, serving day and night. like, devotees you have with association of great devotees. Being gone 4 years, when I go back to Vrindavan now for a week, for 2 weeks, once or twice, 3 times a year, it's like a paradigm shift again in life. Some great new realizations, some beautiful meditations. Your bhakti just gets surcharged. So it's, consciousness is described sometimes to be like a crystal. It reflects the colors it's surrounded with. So you want to be surrounded with positive energies, and then you'll be uplifted. But that relationship once established is very hard to lose. We've heard so many examples of that with disciples of Swami Prabhupada and others. Very deep relationship with very great personalities, once established, very hard to lose. So I would say, as mature devotees, we shouldn't be fanatic in necessarily any direction. Because a lot of times harm is done by too much fanaticism. Always be in guidance, always be in a good association. And then you go to places where people are always in guidance, always in good association, and the sadhus themselves will say, I'm surrounded by so many mosquitoes.
I'm trying what?
So people say, always be in guidance, always be in good association. And then you go to places where everyone's surrounding the sadhu, and then the sadhu says, I'm surrounded by so many mosquitoes who are always in good association and always under guidance. So it's not so easy, right?
I've seen a lot of programs. I don't want you to end yet, but I know Prasadam's coming too.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of programs where it's just kirtan and then there's no harikatha. I mean, maybe you can, as you mentioned, there's 3 parts.
So Lord Chaitanya, in his conversation with Ramananda Roy, was only initially satisfied as a preliminary level when they got to the topic of Harikatha. When they got to the topic of hearing about Krishna from sadhus, then he was preliminarily satisfied and said, now go further into this topic. And he said, this is the platform for coming into real prem, which is the highest aspect potential of the soul. Because he said that Harikatha is directly touching you on the Atma, Shabda Brahma. It's directly connecting with you. Everything else maintains it leads to bhakti. And that's what, remember I said, don't discount that. Akadashi, all these things, it's watering Tulsi Devi, it's leading to bhakti. You need to be led to bhakti before you follow it. You need to have the desire to learn about bhakti before you practice bhakti. So those are crucial. But hearing Harikatha is how you actually start making advancement. And then kirtan is with taste. Then you can gradually go past the platform of chanting with offenses. So that's why I was saying, the only thing I was saying about Varnashrama is don't get comfortable that, I am a member of this religion and I'm good and everyone else is bad. I'm following the real deal. Someone else may be following not the real deal, better, and making more advancement. As a good Christian, as a good Muslim, as a good whatever. Connecting to God according to their tradition. So the basic thesis is, just like Lord Chaitanya is showing a progression, how to advance, the basic thesis is that we should also try to advance. How? Okay, we study, discover. But the desire to make the advancement is the most important thing. Just that desire alone will lead you to Godhead. That if I have the desire, how can I make one, I'll tell you, the Sanskrit for the smallest portion of time is the amount of time it takes a particle of light to cross over an atom. I should make that much advancement. Right? For the amount of time a particle of light can pass over an atom. That's the smallest calculation of time. And the greatest calculation of time is 311 trillion years. One lifespan of a universe, right? So I should make that much advancement. That desire to make advancement, that is the most essential aspect. So then we should think, how can I have that desire? And you find those activities that support the awakening of that desire. And I would always recommend this for devotees, for myself, my own life. The 99% of other stuff in life, it's okay. It's going to go on. According to my material karma and my Varnashrama. That's great. It's necessary. It's okay. Why did Rupa Goswami say, don't worry about the external things? Drista sabhava janita. Don't judge devotees by the external things. Oh, this devotee is voting for Kamala. This devotee is voting for Trump. Don't judge based on those external things completely. A little bit. Not completely. I'm just saying, these are all external. We accept everything as it is. but try to make advancement in bhakti, on what is eternal, not temporary. Lections and all this is all temporary. But Atma, we try to make some advancement. Okay? Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpa tarubhasya kripa sindhu.